Hi. So today's outrage is one that is always in the news these days, and it is the global warming hoax, previously known as global warming, now known as climate change. And you notice that these advocates of climate change have now set things up that no matter what happens with the weather, whether it gets hot, whether it gets cold, whether it fluctuates too dramatically between hot and cold, whether it doesn't fluctuate sufficiently between hot and cold, whatever happens to the weather, and I know the difference in weather and temperature, thank you. Whatever happens to the weather, it will validate their hypothesis. The thing I would caution you about whenever you read research results is there any funding for the opposing point of view? For example, climate change. If you voice any suspicions about the validity of climate change data, you are called a denier. You're a denier of what? The facts are never really voiced. It's been predetermined. The French are actually rioting in Paris because Macron, their EU-oriented president, has been very supportive of the climate change agenda, the Paris Accords that Donald Trump famously pulled out of. And he imposed a tax on fuel because, after all, the agenda of the climate change people is that fossil fuels are contributing to the warming of our planet, and that's a disaster. The way to limit use of fossil fuels is to tax them, just like any other sinful product like tobacco or alcohol, or the list is numerous. And the French people have revolted. They've set fire to cars. The Arc de Triomphe is not a tourist destination these days, and it's the voice of the people. The globalists and their insistent demand for control over the rest of us have finally stepped too far. You might remember many years ago, when Europe underwent its turmoil, that was because the price of food had escalated beyond where the people were willing to tolerate. The same is true here in France. Macron's tried to pacify the people by saying, we will, not enforce this tax for 6 months and reevaluate, and I don't know if it'll be enough. They're demanding the rollback of all of these taxes. But back to global warming. What is the evidence for global warming? People say the ice sheets are disappearing. People say there's huge melt. Sea levels are rising. And I will grant you that it appears that over the recent century or two, we have been through a warm period. But whether the human population has been the cause of this is very much in doubt. It seems to be a well-established or well-accepted fact that humans are the only cause, but my position is quite different. I think our climate here on Earth is actually caused by that huge ball of energy in the sky that we call the sun. And the more active the sun is, the warmer it is here. The sun is heading into a dramatically lower period of activity, and I am prepared to bet, actually I don't think that's legal, I'm prepared to state that I believe within 10 years we will be fighting to increase the warmth of the planet. Wouldn't that be ironic? Even more ironic would be if the climate change people are still receiving funding to generate ideas to heat the planet. I'll leave you with that cynical thought, and take care.